called the Chop Shop, and the idea was just about us as men chopping it up, whether we talking about sports, politics, whether we talking about relationships, whatever we talking about, we just chopping it up. So the idea came from last year COVID, and Trey came up with the name. She helped me with the name, and then I started doing calls with a lot of my different brothers from all over the country, and so. She was like, "Well, when we're gonna have a ladies and men get on at the same time?" I was like, "You know what? That sounds like a good idea." So, um, I want to say thank you to all of the ladies who got on tonight. We greatly appreciate you. A lot of you guys are wives, girlfriends, mothers, significant others, whatever. So we definitely want to hear your input on everything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go when we ask a question, we're gonna go male, female, so we could get a perspective back and forth like that instead of all the males go and then all the ladies go. So we'll go one male, then a female, or a female, then a male, whichever order. But Trey, I want you to first introduce all of your guests, and then I'll introduce all of my guests, and then we can start.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ladies first because we're ladies. So I want to introduce all these beautiful women here. My girl Keandra, she lives in Fort Worth, Texas, and she's joining us from Texas. So welcome, Keandra. Thank you for joining the Chop Shop. My girl KC, Kimberly Carter. She's here with me in DC, my beautiful sister. We worked at the Pentagon together. We've been at Langley together, so I've been knowing her for a long time. The songbird, my girl Delana Jordan is here. She's right here in Woodbridge with me. So welcome, Delana, beautiful lady. And then my baby sister, Star Williams, is out in Ohio. She's active duty Air Force, as a matter of fact. So she's joining us here as well. So thank you again, Jerome, and we're looking forward to the discussion.
All right, so in the top right corner, we got my good brother Anthony Brinkley. We call him Brink on the Brink. Doing some great things around the world, educating and enlightening, not just military folks, but folks all around in different topics. He's out of Florida. We got my buddy down to the left. We call him DC. His name is Daryl Campbell, another amazing brother. He was also my best man at my wedding, good friend of mine. Love him like a brother. And in the middle, we got my good brother Thomas, another extraordinary military person. We got the military folks, a couple of chiefs on the line. Did some big things. And then at the bottom, we got Marcus, another military person. I just got that military team. I told Trey I was coming with them people.
That's my best male friend in the whole world.
And that's actually my wife's best male friend. And then we got my co-worker down at the bottom right, Scott Bullock, a good young brother who has a great mind, great heart. I told my wife he probably got the best spirit of anybody that I ever worked with. Like every day he come in and he's happy, and dealing with some of the stuff that we deal with at work every day with our young men, that's hard to do every single day. And he brings that every day. So that's why I chose all of those brothers, because they all different, dynamic, but most of all, they're successful in whatever they do and whatever they've done. So I want to thank all of you guys for getting on the call tonight.
So are we going ladies first?
Go ahead. So we go ladies first. You ask the question, and then we'll go with a male and then a female, just like that. So I'm going to let my co-host and my amazing wife, as you all know, Trey, run the show. So go ahead, babe.
Okay, I see you brought that, like I said, the heavy hitters. You got Thomas out all the way from South Carolina. It's my baby's goddaddy. I love that man. All right, guys. So first question, I think I sent it out to everybody, and then we'll just go around the room. We're gonna go lady, male, female, right? I mean, female, male. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, name one myth that you feel the opposite sex believes to be true as it relates to what women want and what men need. And I'm gonna start with Delana. I think you're on mute, baby. Go somewhere else? Okay.
Go somewhere else so she get it together.
All right, Star. You a star, baby. It's on you. One myth that you think the opposite sex believes to be true as it relates to what women want and what men need?
Okay. I think first, how y'all doing?
How you doing?
I know we had the introductions, but how y'all doing? I think one thing that the opposite sex thinks may be a myth that what women want is that we all want the same thing.
Mm.
You know, I think we are all individuals. I really think we have to take the time to really communicate and get to know what the woman that you or the man that you are talking to, what they want. So that's one myth, I think.
Mm. That was good and direct. I like that. Good answer. Good answer. So for my team, I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna start out with my point guard. We're gonna go with Anthony Brinkley. Brink, can you answer that question? Name one myth that you feel the opposite sex believes to be true as it relates to what women want or what a man needs.
You know, I thought about that question, and to be honest with you, that's a hard question for me because when I think about mythology and what we say and what we've been taught, nothing really stood out. I mean, so for me, what I would throw out as a point of consideration is a lot of people believe, in my opinion, that where are the good men at? You know, you hear that narrative. They're in this. You put them in these different categories. There are a lot more women than men. Statistically, that's true. But I think that I was having this discussion the other day. I'll make this real quick. So I think sometimes people think that they have to lower their standards to have a decent man to walk beside them, to walk with them in life. And so in many cases, women have lowered their standards, and because sometimes men have options that they perceive as options, they actually live down to the standards that the women have actually said, hey, I'll accept this. So I think because of how we see what's going on demographically, sometimes we've lowered our standards, and because sometimes we're not as diligent or we're not as disciplined as men, we compromise and we continue to perpetuate a bad narrative. So I would just say there are good men. When I talk to men about relationships, I'm like, yeah, you're going to have people come at you, women come at you if you're attractive, because women were attracted to you. The woman you got was attracted to you. But in my opinion, most women live like they don't have options. Like they'll be with that one man, typically faithfully. A lot of us live like we have options. So live like you don't have options, and I think you can kind of forego some of those issues.
Ooh, about to start some stuff up in here.
Interesting input. That was good.
Kim, KC, I think I need you to jump in here on. Give me a myth that you think that the opposite believes about us. What women want? Yes, ma'am. You.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I was having problems with my computer earlier. So to the gentleman who just spoke, Anthony, hi, nice to meet you. I really appreciate the input you just gave. And before I give my answer, let me share something with you. I grew up in a military family that was truly an old-fashioned Southern family. So my parents got married at 15 and 19 and stayed that way until my mother passed away. So the expectations that were established in our household sound a lot like what you just said. And what that expectation was, that obviously years into the future, we realize have impacted the men and women that we become, is for girls, we were taught you better only have one little boy calling you at this house at any given time. You cannot have a whole bunch of little boys calling this house because you're hot. That's inappropriate. You being fast. Those sorts of things were applied to that concept of a woman maintaining options. But the exact opposite was true for the boys. Oh, look at my boy. He got 5 little girls calling him. Oh, they at him. They after him all the time. And so there is a difference in the way that we've raised our boys and girls that has carried over into how we react and respond as men and women who are ready and willing and responsible and able to be in a relationship. So I hear what you're saying, but understand that concept that was taught to so many women of all races and all socioeconomic status was that one at a time, whereas our male counterparts had two or three. And we didn't get that. No one taught us that necessarily. So we missed that concept. So what often happens to us is men have dated around and they know what they want. They know what they value in a relationship, in a woman, and they recognize it when they see it. But women were taught one at a time. What comes our way often, I don't want to generalize, ladies. I'm talking about myself and the way that I was raised. But often we will take what comes our way, just as you said. We accept certain things when perhaps we should keep our options open and learn to do what our male counterparts are doing. That does not mean we go out and sleep around and we become hoes and we lower our personal standards. It's not what I mean. But I think it does mean that we have to be cognizant of the fact that there are differences in the way that the men and women were raised, and that is impacting how we react and respond as adults when it comes to relationships. So again, thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. And Ms. Trey, from my perspective, I think what I've seen, that myth, and perhaps it's simply a matter of race, but what I found in my experience was I've met a lot of men who would not engage because they thought all women want a man with money. And that myth that, especially the Black woman, but that myth that women in general are materialistic and we will have nothing to do with a man who does not have money. I think that is an overarching myth that is hurting everyone because all of us are out here on our grind. Everybody out here is on our grind. But people are getting to a level of success in that grind at different points in their life. And I think it's inaccurate to believe that myth that every woman wants a man with a lot of money or else he can't step to her. That's a total fallacy. You do need to be about your work, but that's not the first, last, or only thing I will ever see in a good man.
Okay, so we got two things: that all women are the same and all women want a man with money, and we need to open up our apertures with options. Okay, Jerome, it's on the fellas.
All right, we're gonna go to my shooting guard, Thomas. Can we elaborate on that question? Name one of the myths that you feel opposite sex believes to be true as it relates to what women want or what a man needs.
Good evening, all. Yeah, absolutely. A very challenging question. I think one of the myths that I've heard over times is that women think that men want a woman like their mother. And that's, it's big because we get that persona that, if that man, how you see that man is how he treat his mom. And that's true. There's a lot of truth to that, but not every man wants a woman like his mother because not every mother has been the ideal mother for that man. So in that regards to a myth, I think that's just one of the myths that doesn't stand in society. It's not correct. And I'll forego the discussions at this point. But KC and the other brother has some good stuff that we can all get on at some point.
I like that response. I think that you know, a key point that you made is that like everyone didn't have a relationship with their mom, so it's hard for a woman to really gauge and say, you know, you want a woman like your mom when you don't even know if that person had that personal relationship with their mother. So that's good. That's a good insight. All right, Trey, who you got next?
All right, Keandra, you're on deck, lady.
Who's that?
Keandra.
Oh, hello, hello. Actually, Kimberly, she kind of dipped into mine. Thanks, Kimberly. I'm with you. I'm with you. So, you know, mine was also that, you know, a big baller, shot caller type of thing. You know, a man with lots of money is kind of how I saw it. And you know, while we all know that money answereth all things, it's not the fix to having a good relationship. It's just not the fix to having a good relationship. You know, if a man has all the money, but he has no integrity, he has no respect, he has no commitment, and the list can go on, and I can, you know, find some other things, you know, if he doesn't have, then money doesn't really matter. You know, money doesn't really matter. And for me, I'll just speak for me. You know, if a man has potential and he has drive, he don't have all that money, but he has potential and he has drive, then it's on. We talking about something. So, so you know, that's what I would say.
Excellent. I like that. You know, I think it goes back to what Star said, you know, all women are different. Everyone's needs are different, you know, so you don't necessarily just want a man with money. Like you said, if he don't have any integrity, he doesn't have any drive, then it's a moot point. So I agree with you. Excellent input. Jerome?
All right, we're gonna go down the line. My small forward, the man who run the offense for me, DC. Give us something.
All right. You know, this was a very interesting question, but something that I discussed with my wife previously. So I'm gonna come from the wives, the ladies, the opposite sex from this standpoint. I think the biggest myth that men believe is that our wives do not want to be submissive. And so if you look at Ephesians 5:23, where it says, wives, submit to your own husbands, as men look to the Lord. And so in that verse, it's basically saying, again, love your wives as the Lord loves the church. So I think both are synonymous. Women can be submissive to their husbands. And now let me say this and add to that. And I should get some claps from women here. I'm joking. You don't have to clap. But what does that take for women to do that? One, you be a godly man. Number two, you ain't got to have all the money, as Keandra and Kimberly said, but be able to be a provider.
Ooh.
Be the man of your house. And in fact, you do that by your affirmation of God. Secondly, if you're doing that, your wife is going to give you a secondary affirmation. Being able to procreate or adopt or raise kids is going to be that third affirmation. And so when you can cover those items in the most responsible way, then it's easy for your significant other, wife, particularly, to submit to you because you're doing it under God.
You jumping ahead. That's our fourth question.
Oh, we'll get to that one too, right?
Yeah.
They
Good.
tie in.
You know, a lot of these questions tie in, so you know it's great input and great dialogue. So we definitely appreciate that. Trey, who's your next? Who's your next lady up on deck?
All right, we got the songbird up next, you know. So, Delana, tell me, what do you think the opposite sex believes to be true? Give me a myth as it relates to what women want. Do you think men believe?
What I really want to address is Daryl's comment, because I was going to bring up the topic of submissiveness. So I'm about to start some mess because I'm really interested in what the men have to say. So I think that women think that a man like the best woman for a man is a completely submissive woman, Roger. And I think a lot of women think that. So, you know, a lot of strong, powerful women, we roll together in packs, right? We roll together in packs. And oftentimes we think that we have to dumb ourselves down in order to be attractive or considered wife material for men. And I certainly believe that submissiveness goes both ways, right? Right? Because we are successful, we have been empowered with intellect, you know, the ability to move and shake, most of us in this pack of women. So our opinion matters, right? In terms of the direction of our life and the direction of our families, right? And so to be completely submissive without having input tends to be a problem for women who are quote unquote boss-like, right? Who have achieved some things, who have moved through life in a very productive and a very progressive manner. So I'd like to hear from the men and understand whether that's true. If you think a more submissive woman, no matter what else she brings to the table, is more desirable than one who wants to maybe co-lead in a relationship.
Oh, y'all all jumping ahead. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, Jerome, I think you got Bull and Mark to finish this question out, and then we'll go to the next.
We'll come back to that. We'll address that. I'm gonna go with my power forward, my stretch four. My man Marcus down in Florida. Marcus, give us something. Give us something for the ladies.
Wow, it's a hard act to follow all that right there, brothers and sisters. But I was going to say something about the submissive part. Y'all already jumped on that.
Go ahead, say something about it, Mark.
No, you know I can get something started quick now. I'm trying to be nice, But I really believe that it's a combination of all things that both sides want. But I think most of the time we're afraid to communicate it directly because it will make you look like less of a person in some ways if you really talk to a person and open yourself up and let them know what you truly want. I mean, we hide behind a lot of things, in my opinion, and ladies, don't attack me too much, but you know, some ladies wear a whole lot of makeup. They got implants and things of that nature now. And then guys, on the flip side, they act like they got all this money and stuff to attract women and bring them in. But at the same time, they might be broke or a lot in debt, so on and so forth. And so both sides are coming at each other, in my opinion, in my experience, in a fake manner.
You stop right there. He froze.
He froze up.
I think the Holy Spirit froze him up.
Yes, sir. Can a brother get an amen in church on a Monday?
All right, but to basically conclude what I'm saying is we come at each other initially from a not so honest place, in my opinion, especially when we're young. And then we expect something to build upon that. And then things are quickly exposed. And then we start realizing, wow, man, I might not even like this person now because they done lied to me. You know, they got fake this, fake that. He said he got all this money and get a successful career and he ain't this, he ain't that. And it just, I think spirit, you know, from there it spins out of control. And then some of us try to regroup and some of us just at that point say, let's move on to the next person. But that's my little minor input after all the other inputs was taken. So I had to jump on something different.
Well, hold on, Margaret. I just want to say, just because you might have something fake, whether it's nails, hair, boobs, that don't mean you fake. That mean you.
Yeah, yes and no, sister. Yes and no.
Marcus, that don't mean you fake. That just means you might want to enhance what you got. That don't make you fake.
So about a guy going to get a Mercedes and he ain't got no job, that's enhancing what he got.
Well.
All right, let's move on to the next question. Wrong getter.
That's just wrong. That's just wrong.
I love
I'm just saying.
I know my ladies want to jump in there, but I think Bull still got to jump in.
Okay.
Oh, Bull gonna be good. Now go ahead, Bull. You got it, baby.
I'm gonna round it off. I'm gonna round out my list with, you know, on every great team, you need a center. So, you know, this is our man that holds the paint down. Bullock, give the ladies what they want.
crazy, man. To try to combat everything that was said is kind of like, I see why Shaq had had all the issues he had. But to say, to go into the myth piece, I think that the greatest myth is that we think we have the answers. And the crazy piece is each one of us are different individuals with different individuals. So, and then there's levels to it. So at one point in time, you was this way. And then if you gain some knowledge yourself, if you had somebody teach you, if you had a woman instruct you, because the woman is the first teacher. If you had the woman instruct you at a young age, and you might weren't that good for that woman, but when you get the next woman, you're the best man ever. So I think the myth is that we think, and vice versa, but I think the myth is that we think we had the answers. And to go on to that submission piece, which is crazy, but I'm gonna go ahead and jump in just a little bit. The word says for the woman to to respect her husband, not to love. The man has to love. So with her respect comes her submission. With his love comes his submission, and the two become one. So it's not she submits more than I submit. It's not that I submit more, but we come together, and that's what makes one. So yeah, we about to get it in. I'm telling you.
We got some preachers in the house, so I know that's gonna be. We got 1, 2. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So Trey, I'm gonna let you go, and then I'll round it out, and that'll be the first question, and we'll move on to the second one. So it's your turn.
Okay, I think one of the myths that the opposite sex thinks is that we want to be in charge of everything. And the reality is women don't necessarily want to be in charge, but I think we have, in our generation, have been pushed into a role that wasn't ordained for us to be in. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, you know, the man was the head of the house, and he pretty much, women weren't working. So they took care of the things that women were traditionally supposed to do. And because a lot of times the men weren't there for us in our generation to help raise our children, to help be the head of the house, we were pushed into a role that we weren't ordained necessarily to be in. And so I think that a lot of men, one of the myths that a lot of men think is that women want to be the head. And I don't think that we necessarily want to be the head. Like I said, I feel like we've been pushed into that role. And maybe more aligned with what Delana said, maybe we want to be a co-lead. Maybe we want to be a partner, or than what some of the other brothers said, that they want to lead, but they don't feel like maybe we will allow them to lead. And I know we're going to get into that later in a relationship. So I just think that one of the myths is that the woman wants to be the lead and is afraid to submit to her man.
All right, sister. Good job. So, when I read this question, I'm glad I got something that nobody really touched on, even none of the men. Is that I think that for us as men, I think one of the biggest myths is that some of us just want a round-the-way girl. Like, we don't need to have the woman who, look like the model on TV, or the girl that got her hair down to her back. My wife every day wakes up and put on something nice. And some of the most attractive things that she put on is the most simplest things around the house. So a lot of us just want our women to just be them. We're not looking for what TV shows us. And I think the biggest myth is that women think that they're not enough and that they have to start to do things to compete with other women, when a real man, let me say that again, a real man want his wife to look the way she is, and he gonna love her regardless. So I think that's one of the biggest myths, that women, if they was to understand that, then they wouldn't settle as much for that man who's not for them. And they will wait until God put that person in their life. Just be you. Most men want that woman who's just them. We're not looking for the extra, because sometimes the extra is in you. So
Well said, Rome. That's what I was trying to say. Mine just came off a little rough.
I got you, brother. I got you.
My apologies, ladies. My apologies. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Don't worry about it. I got you just like you got me. All right, Trey, hit us with the next question.
All right, ladies. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So the second question is, are good women and good men hard to find? And if so, what characteristics are you looking for that considers them good? And for those of you who are married and in relationships, why is it so hard to maintain that relationship in today's society? So, are good women and good men hard to find? What characteristics are you looking for? And for those of you who are in a relationship, why is it hard to maintain? So if you don't mind, Jerome, I think I'm going to pick a guy first.
Okay.
Okay.
This feels like an interview with these 3-part questions. I have to write them down.
Okay. So I'm going to direct this to a man. Thomas, is a good woman hard to find? Is a good woman hard to find? And if so, what characteristics in your mind makes a woman good? TJ.
I'm not sure if you can say a good woman is hard to find, because there are a lot of great women out there. What's good for one is not necessarily good for the other, so you have to locate that one that works for you. For me, having been married for 25 years and now single for 9, and being in that single world, one of the characteristics I look for is loyalty. I think loyalty stands out to me. When you got that ride or die mentality, that woman that's loyal and committed to the relationship, everything else falls in place. You can't be loyal and be a liar, a cheater, and all these other things that come with that. So I think for me, I want a woman that's loyal, that's committed and dedicated to the relationship, that's gonna invest in it, and we get into that intimacy piece of it later on. That woman that gets into intimacy, that looks deep within me and know everything about me as I know everything about her. We'll deal with that Ephesians piece a little bit later at some point, but I really want to touch on that. We'll talk about that Ephesians and that submissiveness that Ms. Kimberly spoke of earlier. And I think Daryl brought it up. And we alluded to Ephesians, that 5th chapter of Ephesians. We got to understand, we can't just pluck out one scripture and then set everything on that one scripture, because there's a lot there in that text that relates to being submissive. If you read it, beginning the very first, I think it's somewhere around the 21st, it says we are to submit ourselves one to the other. So it begins with submitting to one another. And then it rolls into the husband's role and understanding what the husband is to be to the relationship. And one thing that is critical in reading that scripture is that if the husband is not in line with where God has placed him, then you default as it relates to what the woman is supposed to do. So if he's not submissive to God, then there is no channel for that woman or a need for that woman to be submissive to him, because he's out of order. So there's a lot in that text that we just can't, I promise you, we can't get it in this one conversation tonight. And so, Sister Delana, we can talk about that, but it's going to be a long conversation as it relates to submissiveness. Do I believe that submissiveness needs to be in a relationship? Absolutely. If we are followers of Christ, if we're believers of the Bible, if we call or confess on the name of Jesus, we can't pick and choose what we want to pick in the Bible. It specifically states that we are to be submissive. We just got to find out what that submissiveness is and how we apply it to our relationships.
All right.
Loyalty.
All right, Trey. So it's my go, right? It's my turn to pick a lady, right? So I'm gonna go with my sister that lived down the road from me, Miss Delana. Delana, get them in what they want to hear. Come on.
So, are good men hard to find? That's a no for me. They are not hard to find. I think that they are absolutely discoverable. You can find them. And I think it really depends on how you go into looking for a man, right? If you go into it looking for a partner, someone to share with, someone to support you, because you're already established, then they're out there. You know, I'm not talking about necessarily finding someone who isn't as progressive as you or taking some shorts. I think that there are good men everywhere. They all have potential, but I think it depends on the place that the woman is coming from, that she's even able to see a good man, right? When he shows himself to her. For example, you know, I consider myself responsible for my own well-being, my own forward progress, my life in general. I would never essentially turn that over to a man. So I'm self-contained in that way. So I am open to discovering a good man no matter what his situation or circumstance is, because if I make a mistake and he turns out not to be a good man, I haven't poured all of myself and all of my resources and turned my life over to him, right? In a way, we're tying back to the submissiveness part, in a way that would leave me devastated if he turns out not to be a good man. I can always recover. I will always be fine. So for me, a good man is just a partner, someone who is bringing something to the table, preferably at least half of whatever it is that we endeavor to do. Someone that I can share with, someone that I can love with, someone that I have things in common with. And for me, those types of men are everywhere and available.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your input. I think that's one of the challenges that we all face. And I think that's the men may be able to speak to that, because what you're saying in a way is that you're not really giving all of yourself to a person. So if they disappoint you, it won't crush you. And I think that I think it was Bull or maybe Marcus was saying, and they may say that you're giving a representative instead of giving your full self. And I think sometimes when we get into a relationship that we actually give our representative, because we're so guarded and we so apt to not open up our heart because we've been so hurt. So we don't want to really show you everything or give you everything because of our experiences and being disappointed. So I'd like to hear what DC has to say in reference to, you know, do you think a good person, woman or man, is hard to find? And you've been married for a minute, so why is a relationship actually hard to maintain in today's society?
Well, before I go into that, I just want to address a couple things about Ephesians 5 and 23. One must understand, as I think most of us do, whatever faith you choose, there's going to be different understandings in it. But I would like to say this: anytime you read in the scripture, 1, 2, or 3, you must read it precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. So you cannot get one understanding from one verse. And that Bible, as we know, was used for many reasons and a lot of evil to help people change and condition their minds. So let me say that first. And then we'll get back to that on maybe question number 4 in terms of submission. To your question, as being married 29 years this October, thank the Lord for that. And I think right to that segue, if God is not in your marriage, whether it's the husband or the wife, then it's going to make it difficult in that. We also already know, based on the societal issues and the things and all of the stimuli that we face, causes a lot of distractions. But if you're not walking in the spirit, I'm talking singularly first, and if you can't have your significant other walking in the faith as well, you're going to have challenges. I don't care if it's 2 years or 20 years. And that's just, again, my belief, as I put out the disclaimer right there. I believe that you have to have them. But along with that, now we can get into what I like to call the superficial reasons. It becomes difficult. One, if you're not in sync with your finances, that's going to make marriages horrible and difficult. Who wants to be broke? Additionally, communication. I'm not a big talker, except when I'm on forums like this. And my wife teased me about that a little bit. I'm more laid back. And there's a different level of communication in your household. And so if you're not fitting like hand to glove on communication, you're going to create some significant problems in your marriage and you're going to have struggles with that. Um, when it comes to relations, and yes, that is in the Bible, men, snuggle up, and I'm paraphrased, to your wife's bosom. If you're not compatible or even in a position to love one another as one, that's going to create a whole lot of problems. And I can go on, and I'll stop right there. But initially, just to recap, number one, if you ain't in the spirit, if one of you ain't in the spirit, you're almost doomed to a divorce or other issues in your marriage. And then secondarily, look at all the things that you can do to create that spice in your relationship. And if you're not doing it, one is simple. Let me just add this one. Why not be in shape for your significant other? You know, I want to be able to say, or you should be able to say, man, you still look the same or as good as you did 20 years ago. So we have to be committed to each other, not that mindset of, well, I got a man now, or I got a wife now, or I got a husband now. No, the way you got him, keep him or her. Thank you.
All right. So I just want to ask a real quick question, just a follow up. So you're saying that relationships are hard to maintain in this society is because people, one thing is they don't do the same thing they did to get the relationship, whether it's staying in shape or going out or whatever.
That was my capstone, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So let me see. I'm gonna go with Sister Star. Star, talk to the brothers.
Okay, so I'm coming from a singles perspective. I was married for 8 years, and divorced, and probably been single for some years. But I think a good man is not hard to find. I think you just have to be really clear on what you're looking for. I think you need to be really transparent on what you want, and honest with yourself and those that's seeking. So yes, a good man is not hard to find. I think it just, like I said, it boils down to just being honest with yourself and honest with whoever is out there that that you may be interested in. Characteristics. I know we've been talking about submissiveness, and I know we have a question loaded later on in the discussion, but characteristic of a good man to me is a leader. I have to be able to trust that I can submit to you, but I need to know that you are willing to step up and be the leader, right? So that I can submit. I think another characteristic is just being willing to be vulnerable. I think that's challenging, and I don't want to, stereotype here, but I mean, the men can chime in on this, but I think some men find it hard to be vulnerable. And I think it's important to be vulnerable in a relationship, especially for a man, because that's when women can come in and kind of prove, so to speak, that you can trust me, right? That I got your back, and that it creates the opportunity to build like the partnership, right? Like once you put the test of the trust, to test, then that's when we figure out that I got your back, right? And I think another just like interesting characteristic is friendship. I think we talked about like once you've been married, And you know, how you keep that spark alive. I think you always like refer back to like we have a true, genuine friendship, right? When everything else fades, we can fall back on like, we really like each other, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent
Good
input.
job. So, Star, one of the things that I really enjoy that you said, and I think might have, if everybody didn't catch it, where you said for men to be vulnerable, and I think that that's really good, because most men, if they meet the right person, they will allow themselves to be vulnerable. But one of the reasons why men don't, and Trey and I talked about this a lot, is that growing up as young boys, whether it's our fathers, our uncles, or not having a father there at all, we're taught to be strong and to be tough. And so as you grow up, you learn not to cry. You learn all these different things, but those emotions don't go nowhere, right? They stay within. So that young boy becomes a man, and he still has all of this that's wrong with him. And so when he meets a young lady and he gets burned or she has been burned, those emotions, they don't just go away. And so sometimes we hold on to the things that we go in survival mode. But when you meet somebody, like for me, meeting Trey and her and I talking so much, we've been able to share so much. But a lot of men never have those relationships because of how we were raised.
I think the same is true for women. I think in this environment, this society, we've learned that we got to be strong, we got to be independent, you know, we can't submit, you know what I mean? You got to protect your heart. So I think that we have a similar experience. We just demonstrate it differently. Men are more covert in their emotions, and women are more overt. So I like to hear what Marcus has to say in reference to how do you maintain a relationship? You've been married for a minute. How do you maintain a relationship in this environment, you know, to keep it going? And then do you think prior to you getting married, was finding a woman, a good woman, hard to find? And what characteristics kind of do you look for in a man? As a man, to determine whether or not a woman is a good woman?
Well, I have the perfect woman in my life, so I'm good to go. But it, but
It's there though, because I know you.
I know. It took me a while. You're right. You're exactly correct. But to piggyback on what Rome said, your experiences in life makes you put a certain barrier against your heart. And as the sister was saying earlier, most men I know, we don't want to be vulnerable at all, because we know that's going to be a sign of weakness. And at some point, and in a lot of relationships, women tend to use that against you. You cry in front of your lady. Some women, not necessarily you women on the panel right now, but some women will use that against you and call you weak, call you a punk, all these different words. And then, you know, they don't think that if it comes down to it, you can be a man when it need to be. If you come home crying for something at work that frustrated you or whatever. So just to piggyback on those points there, but you initially asked me what characteristics I look, and I found in my beautiful wife that I have trust, because I've been through some things with relationships. I trusted the wrong people, and different things happened in my life that caused me to be, as my sister Trey knows, rebuilding my life late in life, because I put too much trust in certain people. And communication is one of the biggest ones. Uh, and as Rome said, I like my, natural as possible, meaning, hey, what you wake up with in the morning, I love it. I don't need the extra, me personally. But and I understand what your lady's saying, Trey. Don't trip on me. But I understand what you mean by, making yourself feel better by doing certain things. But for me, that is what I found characteristic wise in my wife, and that's why she's Miss Hagewood now. And the other point that you had, as far as keeping the relationship going. As the brother stated earlier, you got to do what you did while you was wilding each other, if you will. You got to keep that going. And also understand at times in our lives, we all change as we go along from our experiences or something that might have happened, or we just get older and we can't do certain things that we once did or whatever, but you got to find a way to keep the spark. And I think that is the main thing that most of us go wrong and start looking for outside resources, if you will, other people, i.e. other people, to fill those voids that you all of a sudden feel you're not getting at home. But if you're not careful, the 80-20 rule that most of us already know what that is, will you'll give away a lot for nothing, and some people realize that late. But that's my input. Thank you for giving me the time.
Before Jerome jump on, I'm just gonna tell you, one day he might get Beyonce and the next day he might get Anita. I'm gonna just tell you, keep it 100. One day it might be down here and one
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but Rome loved that. I mean, hey, that's all good.
Yeah,
that's all good.
We diversify in the Latimer household. I'm just letting you know.
Absolutely. Whatever makes y'all happy, that's what the deal is.
Look, every time she asks me which look I like, I said all of them. It don't matter what you put on.
Absolutely.
No matter what you go with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to Sister Kimberly right now. Kimberly, what you got for the brothers? I know you've been waiting, sister. I see it in your face. You waiting.
Patiently waiting. So I too am coming from the perspective of a single woman, but I'm a single woman who has never been married. Like every face on this call, whether you're single or married, I am just like you in that I've had those negative experiences in life that have colored how I look forward, and those things that I anticipate finding in what I believe to be a good man. Do I think a good man is hard to find? Yes and no. Yes, in that it is my honest belief that at a certain point in life, I believe that many of the good men have already been spoken for. I will never cross that line of pursuing a married man. So if they're already spoken for, they're off the table for me. Do I believe that you can't find a good man? Absolutely not. I am still a hopeless romantic, and I believe that God put us on the earth to be part of a team. And so if that takes me until I'm 60 to find that person that God has ordained for me, then so be it. There's no sense in me getting in a hurry because God's not going to send him any faster. I think that for me, I stay realistic in what I'm looking for. But I also realized years ago that it makes no sense for me to be on the hunt for a good man if I am not a good woman that deserves to be found. So I strive to take care of me first. I strive to be the right person. I strive to be a person that is honest and integrity filled and loyal. I strive to be a person that's okay with putting in the time that it takes to allow myself to be known and to be my authentic self. Whether I'm wearing a weave down the back of my neck or a natural do, whether I've got on Lee press on, or if I'm rocking some naturally buff nails, whether I am clean faced or if I have on a full Mary Kay. I think it is important to be authentic to ourselves and to be honest and truthful to ourselves first, and to recognize that who I want in my life should be a reflection of God and what God wants for me in my life. And so I need to be a person who is a good woman if I want to attract a good man. That does not mean that I think that I've done something wrong, the reason why I'm single. That's absolutely not it, because I also want to be clear in saying that as I have grown older, that I also realized that not everybody's going to get the fairy tale. There are people who have different pathways that God has for them, and they have different things for them to do. And that may not necessarily include a husband or a wife or children or family in the traditional sense. It just means that God has a different path for you to make a positive impact in the world. So I don't really overly focus on good man, good woman, etc. I'm cognizant of it, but I'm really focused on being who God wants me to be first. And until I get to being that person, everything else can't fall into place in my life. So I have a different focus, maybe. What are the characteristics? Again, I want them to be on the hunt, to be real like me. I want to be I want what God has for me. And I need if there's going to be a gentleman that's going to be part of my life, I want him to be cognizant of the fact that he needs to be on the hunt for what God has for him. And he needs to be that person. And when we come together, we're both bringing a plate to the table with parts of the meal, and we join it together and have a feast as a team. That's really what I'm looking for.
Have a feast.
All right.
Brink.
All right, sister. Who you got next?
I think Brink is up next. Brink.
Let me just reiterate. It is really, it's an honor to be a part of this august gathering, because it just gives me some perspective that I didn't have in some regard, and in some it's good to be reminded of some things that's valuable. I come from a place of, I've been married before, and I've been single for quite a few years now. And as Trey and Jerome know, I started my own company, so I travel all the time, literally around the world till COVID. And I hear people saying like, "Hey, well, let me answer the first part. I've met a lot of good women, but a lot of good women aren't for me. So I have to realize the person who has the characteristics, who has the patience and temperament to deal with my imperfections, and me to do, the same with them. I tell people this all the time. Half of learning is learning, and the other half is unlearning what you've been taught wrong and you've replicated through your life. Every first grader in America knows sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Everyone was taught that, and words have destroyed families and disintegrated how people see themselves. The point I'm trying to make to that is we've been taught a lot of stuff that we need to unlearn in regards to what we expect. Although God has blessed me to be able to do some things, I could care less about money. So I meet a lot of accomplished women that I don't need a man. That's fine. I ain't say you need a man. I ain't talking about you on this panel. I'm just making a point of my experience. And I'm like, but my point is, as a man, I'm gonna always take care of our stuff. That's just who I am. So if you work, that's fine. If you don't work, that's fine. Because all I want you to do is to treat me right. Like the brother said earlier, a man needs respect. That's what we need. A woman is love. It's different. They're conveyed in different ways. So to me, a lot of times when you meet accomplished people, if you're not careful, it becomes a competition. And I never want to compete with the person that I'm in a relationship with. So there are good women, many good women. What I had to do, and I continue to do, is to unlearn things that I was taught wrong, such as a man doesn't give all his heart to his woman, or a man holds something back. Well, if that's the case, you never have a full opportunity to achieve success. So why would you even go into something half-heartedly? And many of us do that because we're actually afraid. I'm not afraid to be hurt anymore. Lastly, I would say characteristics is that, one, we're not designed to live with each other. The only one designed to live with us is the Holy Spirit. And so if we don't have God in us, we can't live right with one another, in my opinion. So my thing is, there's going to be three voices in your relationship. Your voice, the voice of your mate, and whoever that third voice is going to determine how your relationship goes. It could be an in-law, it could be your sister, your brother, or it could be God. The third voice, I'm really concerned about who the third voice is in my relationship with the person. And lastly, as I take my seat, figuratively, I want a friend. To me, friendship is the foundation of a relationship. And if we're friends, you always want the best regard for your friend. You look at them as they might change in life and go through things, but you accept them for who they are. You love them where they're located, and you don't keep an account. So to me, all those other things, maintaining yourself and having those regimented things in your life, that's important. But the friendship piece means everything. And with that, I will throw it back to y'all.
All right. That's some good stuff on the brink. So we're gonna go with Sister Keandra. Talk to the brothers, my sister.
Yes. For me, I would say, a man hard to find. I would say yes and no. And I would kind of say that it's a matter of perspective for me. It's all about the way in which the person, I'll take the woman looks at it, because if you've come from, say, a background of hurt, or you've come from a background of, you've gone through some things, you've had some challenges in relationships. I think it comes down to you having to be realistic and be honest with yourself. Be realistic of what you want. Be realistic of what's out there, what you're really looking for. So many times we have blocks and we have guards that we put up over the years. And so to us, it could be, gosh, I can't find a man. They're just so hard to find. But really, in reality, they're right there, because it's about how you're looking at that, how you're looking for that person. Are you looking at it? Are you looking at it too much? Are you looking for too much? Are you expecting too much? So if you are expecting too much, that famous what is it? The wish list. He's got to be this, and he's got to be tall, and he's got to be 6'3", and all of these things. You have that wish list. So it's not necessarily that they're hard to find. It's, are you being realistic with yourself? Are you being fair? And then on the flip side, so let's get on that flip side. So I think that sometimes it can be hard to find in the sense of, when I go back to when I said, if you have guards, or you've been hurt, or, things like that, because you could really feel like it could be hard. Because maybe you're looking at it as, every time I find someone, they're in a relationship already, or they're in one, but they didn't tell me they were in one. So now you're finding something out later, or that famous line, I just want to be friends. You find them and they just want to be friends. You always, I just want to be friends. But what is, I just want to be friends? And so I think that it can go both ways. Characteristics, I would say for me, loyalty. I would say I'm so big on loyalty and honesty. Also, I would say self-confidence. I need you to be self-confident in you, because if you're not, then sometimes down the road somewhere, there could be some tendencies where, if I am moving and shaking, or something came up that I wanted to celebrate about me, and here you are, kind of looking a little sideways, or you feeling some type of way because you're not even confident in yourself. If you're confident in yourself, we're going to be confident together, because you're going to support whatever, endeavors I'm doing, and I'm going to support you. So I think self-confidence, loyalty, and just being my friend. I need you to be my friend. I think that all basis and foundations are built on friendship. So I think that just being my friend. That's mine. That's
Excellent.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you for
Who
your
we got left? Bullock, right?
Bullock. Well, what you got?
Bullock, what you got, brother? We see you shaking and baking over there, man. What's going on? Talk to the ladies.
You cooking some crabs over there? What you doing?
No.
You on mute, baby.
You out of distance with us.
You on mute. Unmute. There you go.
Yeah, we got this. I'm back.
You back.
Yeah, I'm a gardener. So I'm out here in my garden dealing with what I need to deal with. I've been married. Well, I'll be married on the 17th for 8 years. Me and my love muffin. 8 years we moving into it. And is it hard to find a good woman? I would say no. I think a lot of women that I know, they haven't really ran into a man. They run into a lot of males. They haven't really run into a man. And I think when that happens, like I said, naturally we would come together as man and woman. To answer another questions, I know we going through the Bible and different things like that. I'm Muslim. My wife is Christian. You know what I mean? But with that, let me go ahead and give something that the minister said. Minister Farrakhan said that your woman, a man's wife is his heaven, right? So when you go into I guess the most important piece is that communication. And I want to be your baby. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm rough out here. I do this, I do that, but I want to be able to come home and get held. Can I get held? You know what I mean? Can I be loved? Men really want in their women, you know what I mean, to be able to come home and be able to talk and be able to be understood. And I think women also. So I think, like I said, a lot of us, even back to the previous question with that myth, we don't have the answer. And like I think Sister Kimberly was sitting there speaking, it's about each individual being better themselves before they even enter into something. So when you evaluate yourself and get better within yourself, you bring so much more to the table. And I think that those are, something I can add on. You know what I mean? You hear me?
Yeah, we heard you.
We heard you. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and transition into our next question. And I'm going to start with Delana. My question is, do men and women see intimacy the same? And if not, what's the difference? So when you think about a mate or you think about your husband, Greg, do you both see intimacy the same?
I think, speaking specifically in my relationship, I think we do see intimacy the same, right? Intimacy is about, the physical and mental sharing of love, right? But just in general, I think that it all depends on what it is that you appreciate about intimacy, what it means to you as an individual. I think some women are very mental about their intimacy, right? They want to connect mentally with their partner, emotionally with their partner, and that constitutes the intimacy for them. Some women are very physical, right? But I think what makes a solid relationship is either you have the same level or the same understanding of intimacy, or you're willing to meet that person at the intimacy level that they need, right? So again, they can have the same level of intimacy, the same meaning behind intimacy, but I think it is really about caring about your partner, what they consider intimate, what they need to feel that intimacy, and providing that for them.
Good answer, good answer. So I'm gonna start mine off. I'm gonna go with Thomas. Thomas, do men prefer, no, the question is, do men and women see intimacy the same, or if not, what's the difference?
I'm not sure if they see it the same, but if you're in a relationship with that individual, it is imperative that you try to come together to get on the same page so that the intimacy can work for those two individuals. There are different perspectives of intimacy. And I think Sister Delina mentioned, intimacy could be physical. It could be intimacy in relation to respecting one another. And the person can really get turned on by just respecting. When you respect that person, when you respect that individual, that's intimacy. Intimacy, when you really get invested in that person, when you know all of the integral pieces of what makes that person work, what makes that person successful, feel good. Those are intimate vibes that we don't associate with intimacy. We only look at intimacy from a bedroom perspective. And I think that's where we get lost, that it's not about a bedroom perspective. Intimacy for me is a lot that more so which take place well before the bedroom. It's the intimacy before the bedroom that makes the bedroom experience so fulfilling. Because if you don't have that intimacy prior to that, then you have to question yourself and ask you, what am I really engaging in? So yeah, intimacy, yeah, it could be different perspective, it could be different based on the individuals. That's where I'll leave that at.
That's good, TJ. You know what? I think I'm gonna jump to Jerome, because I know that you are always talking about intimacy. So I want to hear your perspective in reference to intimacy.
Well, as you know better than anybody, you know, some of our most intimate moments is just our talks, whether, you know, going to work. And Thomas hit it right on the nail. Like, you have to have that intimate communication, freedom, trust, loyalty before it ever makes it to the bedroom. Because one of the things that men don't understand, and until you talk to your partner, is that women deal with so much on a day-to-day basis, you know, especially Black women. They have to be great out in the world, on their jobs, their parents, you know, a lot of times they fatigue. So when they come home, sometimes physically they just not there. But I believe that when you have intimacy, not dealing with a physical sense, meaning calling, texting, writing notes, you know, we do that often. That's our thing, writing notes, communicating. It makes that physical intimacy so much better. But a lot of women feel like if a man only wants them physically, then the intimacy that they want to enjoy, they don't get a chance to enjoy because they don't feel appreciated. So for us as men, we have to do a better job, and I know the brothers on the panel do well, is enjoying those intimate moments where there's nothing physical, like sitting on the couch and holding your lady, or taking a walk, or riding bikes together. Those things women enjoy, and they know that it's all about them versus you just wanting their body, because they're worth more than just their physical appearance.
I'm gonna go to Keandra with that, because you know, you said that you were married for a period of time, and now that you're single, when you're looking for a mate or a mate looking for you, what do you value in intimacy, and what does that mean to you?
So for me, you know, intimacy for me, well, first of all, I think that just for me, I think that men, and not, you know, globally, I think that this can be just on the surface, that, you know, men and women can look at intimacy differently. You know, I think that we've heard a lot that, you know, I can't remember who said it. I think maybe Thomas said it. You know, it's not just about being in the bed or that sexual intimacy. I think for me, intimacy is, you know, all of the cuddling, it's all of the talking, it's all of the caring, it's all of the sharing, it's the together time, it's being vulnerable to one another. That's intimacy for me. And I think that, you know, so many times we can get caught up in that sexual intimacy. But women, you know, women are emotional beings. You know, we tend to be emotional beings. And so, you know, it goes deeper than just that bedroom or that sexual intimacy, because we are, you know, emotional beings. And so for me, yes, you know, I think I'm big on intimacy. I think that intimacy is so very important. And I think that it comes before all of the get down. So like Thomas said, you know, it's before all the get down. And so all of that, just being able to know that I can be me, I can be real, you can be real, we can come together, we can share, we can be vulnerable. All of that is intimacy. And to me, that turns me on. So so yeah, that's what I would say.
Mm, good job. I like that. I like that. Good job, sister, for being open and honest. Marcus, what you got, brother, down in Florida? I know the water's a little different down there. Talk to us.
Well, yeah, all y'all said exactly the same thing I was about to say, but it comes simply down to communicating with each other, in my opinion, and letting each other truly know what your intimacy levels are. I mean, all of us, I think, function on different levels, and a peck here, holding hands, wife cooking dinner, whatever, just come by, smack on the butt, you know.
Yep.
Froze up on us. That's the Lord speaking again.
That Florida thing going on. Well, let DC jump in.
DC, what you got, brother? Marcus,
I'm back.
Yeah, you back. Go ahead.
All right, sorry about that. I don't know why it went out again. I'm out in the sticks. Maybe one day y'all visit, you'll see where I'm at. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is different levels of intimacy, and I think that the communication piece is the most important part to let, like the sister said earlier, you got to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what I want. The little notes and stuff like that, text messages nowadays, those type things, flowers just randomly, all that plays a big part in keeping it intimate. Again, what it took to get that person is what it's going to take to maintain that relationship and make it stronger as time goes on.
Good job. All right, Trey, it's on you, girl.
Sister Delana, what do you think?
I already answered the.
You already answered that. You gotta go to Star or Kim.
Okay, we're gonna go to Miss Kim. What you got going on, Mama?
I guess the question was, do men and women think of intimacy basically the same way? I've had some really good role models in my life. I think one of the most intimate things I ever saw between my parents was my mother was a nurse, and she was coming home from work late, was really stressed, and had talked to my dad. I don't know what the conversation was, but apparently it wasn't good at work. So my dad goes and irons up her scrubs for work and cleaned off her alternate pair of shoes, hung everything by the door, ran her a hot bubble bath. And when she walked in the door, she kicked off her shoes and went straight to the bathtub and stayed there for an hour and didn't say a word. And when she came out, my dad had already fixed her a plate to eat, sat on the table. She sat there, chit-chatted a little bit, but was primarily kind of lost in thought. And when she got through with dinner, I'm washing the dishes, and I look over and I see my mom and dad sitting on the couch next to each other, holding hands and just watching the news in silence. So I think I'll co-sign with what everyone else has said, in that there are different types and different levels of intimacy between men and women and within each couple. I don't believe that intimacy is all about the physicalness. I think it is about the simple everyday gestures that show the other person that you understand that they are experiencing things in their life and that they may just need that opportunity to breathe and just have you in their space for the support. And if nothing else, just to be that person that holds the hand of a tired nurse who happened to have had Later, I found out she had 3 of her elderly patients die on one shift. So to see that level of intimacy between my parents, but most importantly, to see it play out after 46 years of marriage was really intense. So that's a hard act to follow for me. And I just, again, I always strive to keep being a person who's worthy of that type of intimacy for my future partner.
All right, thanks, Casey. We got DC, Star, Bull, and Brink. DC, what do you think? Do men and women see intimacy the same?
I wasn't running from it. You thought I was running from it. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. I can only speak to my personal relationship with my wife. And from that standpoint, we did not see it as the same. I think Rome stated it earlier. Men are brought up to hold their emotions, their feelings, to be that tough, be that rock, be that man. And I'm here to tell you, we was taught wrong. And you don't know that right away, especially in a young marriage. Mine wasn't as old school as Kimberly and her parents, but I was 21 and she was 17. So, and in that particular state, it was legal, so there was no R. Kelly going on. Just being funny. So I say this, but coming into a young relationship like that, it's a lot to learn and a lot to grow, and we definitely were off on the difference between the two and not even know what it meant to both of us. And so again, men, we believe sexual prowessness is king. And that's one of the myths we could have said earlier today. Maybe somebody did say it, all right, you good, but that ain't the only thing. And so with that being said, my wife said to me many of the things that Keandra said. We are emotional creatures. I'm a girl. There was a couple other things you said that you reminded me of that she said all the time, and I wasn't listening at that point in time because in my mind, if it ain't sexual prowessness, then hey, it ain't nothing. And so somewhere along the line, as we age, have kids, men become more mature, I realized what she was saying. It's and I'm gonna do the rated G version. What she said to me was, let's make love because we're gonna have sex. But now if you add some, other profane language, you would understand what that means. And so I learned from that okay, I'm not doing something right. Wait a minute, let me, reevaluate myself. And she said there's a deeper connection.
Yes.
Intimacy is physical and sexual, but as Rome said, and a few of you others said, it has to be something before. And I think Thomas said there has to be something before we get to the bedroom. And that makes it all better. And so I had to, as brother, because there's a lot of knowledge on this call, Scott said, I had to unlearn some things. And guess who was my teacher? My wife.
Yes.
And so big shout outs to her for continuing over the years to tolerate me in that. But eventually, not that she was attempting to convince me, but helping me understand if you want value me and us, then here's some things I'm trying to help you understand. I'm gonna learn you this today. And so I put the instruction, and again, that's why I can, in some cases, say what when people ask me outside of God, I listen to my wife, and I'll stop right there.
That's good, brother. You said something that I hear in my house a lot. My wife be telling me, I'm gonna learn you something. She's joking around with that. But it's so, for us as men, you have to humble yourself and learn from your wife because we weren't born a woman. And there's some things that God show women that he don't show men and vice versa. So if you're not humble to learn, then you'll never be a great student because you'll never be
Powerful
a teacher
statement.
if you're not a good student.
So I'm just curious, Star, from your perspective as a single young lady that's been previously married, when you're looking for a relationship or participate in a relationship, what do you see as intimacy, and what values does that have in your relationship?
I mean, I would echo a lot of what everybody else said, but for me, I really look for the stimulation on multiple domains, right? I want you to stimulate my mind, right? We need to be able to, you know, have an intellectual conversation. I need you to stimulate my spirit, right? So that we can grow together spiritually, and have, kind of like that soul tie, spiritual connection, where we have like the agape love, you know. I look for, obviously we already hit on like the emotional and the physical, but stimulate me on multiple levels. So that's one thing that I look for. And another thing that I just want to hit on is, when we talk about intimacy, for me, it's a sense of safety and security, right? The reason why I'm able to open up and connect with you and you with me is because we feel safe and we feel comfort, right? And so that's what allows us to open up and be close and share and be vulnerable and all of that. And then like those other connections that I talk about, that's, they develop into the physical touch, the caressing of the leg, that where we can sit down and, we're crying and we're like, I don't even know what we're crying about, just those moments, right? So those are some of the other things, but I agree with everyone else. I think we kind of demonstrated on this call, on this platform, that I don't think there's really a big difference once you grow and mature between men and women and what they view as intimacy. I think it is a growth and development and maturity that you learn that intimacy is obviously more than the physical. So I don't think there's a huge difference between men and women, but I do agree you have to learn what your partner needs, and be willing, even if it's not quite your thing, be willing to kind of meet that person in the middle and give them, satisfy their needs. And in a sense, that pleasures you, right? So that's my input.
Good job. I like that, sister. Always
Yeah,
dropping
we'll
some
bring
nuggets
that.
on the call. Boy, what you got for us, brother? Give us something.
Man, you already know. um, it's kind of hard to combat coming at the end because everybody, basically said everything. But I think a lot of us really aren't taught what intimacy really is, especially men growing up, I mean, I talk a lot, but growing up, how we grew up, especially without a proper role model, you really didn't understand what it meant to be intimate with a. Yeah, intimacy was the sex, basically what it was, and not even understanding the sex. So, like, I think by the time it started off, all that, it starts off even before the bedroom. And then the piggyback on a few things, it's kind of like when you think of your intimacy level, especially with your partner, it does so many different things. Like I know Sister Kimberly was talking about what her parents did. I know as far as me personally, I like to slow dance with my wife. I think that's I like that physical touch. I'm talking about as far as like that hugging. Like I said earlier, like I like to be held. I like to, hug, talk, different things like that. But we slow dance, and not only do we slow dance in front of my two boys, so they get to see me actually being in love with their mother. And difference between that goes off with the you love somebody and being in love. I think when you're in love, then you got the love letters, the giggles, the different things, the excitement. Like I know when I see Lat pull up, you know what I mean, he in the car, he talking to his wife, he done, I'm like, man, that's just beautiful right there. You know what I mean? It's constant communication. It's like we're intimate, like the sister just said, like I'm safe with you. It's a safety thing. I'm able to be me. I'm able to the representative, but you see me naked. You catch me in my nakedness. You know me, just like I know you. So I think like intimacy is just so deep, and I think it's much needed. And a lot of us, especially as young black men, we're not really taught, how to be intimate with a woman, how to let her know or show her, not even just telling her, because we learn, the gift of gab, but actually showing and proving that she could be safe with us. You know what I mean? And I think as men, and that's what I was saying earlier, like far as the difference between a lot of women who ran across males instead of men, that spiritual aspect of a man allows the woman to naturally feel safe with him. Like I'm naked with him, I can talk to him. He can catch me in my nakedness. I can be, you know what I mean, Beyonce or Anita or whoever I gotta be. I can be sad, I can be happy, I can be excited, I can be terrified, I can be worried, but I know I'm safe with my man. And vice versa. I know I'm safe with my woman. I could be this monster out here. I can be able to come out here and battle with the world and come home and slow dance with you. You know what I mean? And be your teddy bear. You know what I mean? Different things like that. And I think that's what intimacy is all about.
All right.
All
Okay.
right, all right, Bolden. He's actually, you know what I respect and I admire about him the most is that, and I know all of the men on the call, he's the youngest one out of all of us, but like I said, his energy, and I see his love for his wife every single day. All he talk about is educating our young men, his wife, and his boys. And I think that's the model that we need each and every day. So I appreciate you all the time, brother. So I think we got Brink left. He didn't answer the question, and then we'll get to the next question. Brink, what you got, brother?
So back to what the brother said earlier just now, I agree with him 100%. A lot of times, I'll speak for myself. I know this applies to other men, but I'll make this about me. When I was insecure about expressing myself, I think men and women, we all emotional. I think women typically are more comfortable with expressing their emotions. So what a lot of us did, what I did as a younger man, I would express my emotions. I would try to connect without verbalizing it through sex. I would try to connect. I would try to acquire different things like connectedness, just close to somebody. And that's what I actually was doing in that act versus the act itself, because I wasn't really secure enough in myself to express those feelings. So now that I've kind of thought about it and reflected, I'm a lot more expressive than I was before. The other part I would say about the question is, to me, when you talk about intimacy, it's like if we go to the beach and we sit out there for hours and we just talking, we just vibing back and forth, and there's no rush, there's no pretentiousness, anything of that nature. Or we can get in a car and drive for like 8-10 hours, and we haven't driven each other crazy because it's a natural, it's like we breathing in and out together. And I see that with you and Trey. That's what I love about you guys' relationship, as was illuminated earlier. So to me, the older I get, the physical part is cool, but I think in many cases it's overrated because everything else, to me, the physical part is the culmination of everything that's associated with it. It's like that's when the fruit comes forth. So to me, intimacy is all of those elements. Being comfortable. I think one of the sisters said it earlier, being safe to be able to talk about, because a lot of times people say, it's my last point, a lot of times people say that you're being vulnerable, but in my opinion, many people are vulnerable to the point of their comfort. So you might think they're going deep, but they're like the stuff they're not telling you. So when you can get to a point where you have true vulnerability, now you can break into domains that's never been tapped, and then then your joys are doubled and your pains are halved.
Wow. Man, I might have to rewind that one back to digest what you just said. I was trying to write it down and I couldn't, but you know me, I'm a roll it back and steal that. So
Go ahead, babe.
So one of the things we're gonna get to one last question, because I know we got a couple of more questions, but I know we've been on here for about an hour and almost 30 minutes, and trust me, it's been great. I know, I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time, so we probably will have one more question. But I want you to dive into that question, and then we'll go. The last question will be, because a lot of people touched on it, will be the submissive part in a relationship? Because I think everybody, you know, has some input on that. And I know the ladies got a lot to say as well as the men. So Trey, I want you to answer that question. Do men and women see intimacy the same? If not, what's the difference?
From my experience, they see things differently. Just what I've known through the years is intimacy to men has been sex. And for women, it's been all the other little things. And maybe that's just a myth, but that's just been my experience. Intimacy to me is everything before sex and then intimate physical relationship. So it's the conversations on your way to work, it's the text messages throughout the day, it's the gifts, the little things just because I'm thinking about you, it's the cuddling at night or walking down the street just holding hands. So to me, intimacy is everything prior to us getting to the physical aspects of our relationship, which makes our physical portion of our relationship so much better. So intimacy, like I think it was Thomas saying, was you seeing into me, everything that makes me tick, accepting all of my flaws and my imperfections, as Brinkley, I think, mentioned earlier. So I think intimacy is just accepting me for who I am and making me feel important and valued and special outside of laying down vertically.
All right, good job. So as we stated earlier, so this is what I want to do on this next round robin. So everyone's going to have about 2 minutes and give the most detailed answer that you have. Of course, we're not going to time you, but you know, I'm just going to say everybody get 2 minutes, and just give your honest and open opinion. So the question is, do men prefer submissive women or do women prefer to lead in a relationship? So being that I'm going to start off with Sister Kimberly. What you got for us, sister, the wise lady?
Hey Kim, before you answer that, can you add, so we can just combine 2 questions? Do men prefer submissive women or do women prefer to lead? And then also, if you could tell the brothers one thing you wish they knew about you as a woman, if you can just add those 2 together, that would be great.
Sure. I can only speak for me, so I don't want to overgeneralize. I don't think that women prefer to lead in a relationship. I think part of the intensity and part of the growing intimacy of a new relationship and a growing relationship is the pursuit. And if the man is not the one doing the pursuing, then things tend to be out of whack. I was always taught and read also for myself that it's good for a man to find a wife. I haven't seen anything in there where it says it's good for a woman to find a husband. It was always the other way around. And so whether people think that it is old-fashioned or not, for me, I choose to follow the my life experience that says I don't necessarily want to be the lead in the relationship. I prefer to have the gentleman being the person in pursuit, and we learn together. I don't know that men always want someone to be submissive, but I think a lot of the problem with the term submissive is we need to fully define it, because there is way too much out there where people look at that one part of the passage in the Bible and assume that being submissive means that you have to tell me what to do, tell me where to go, Tell me how to dress, tell me what to eat, when to eat, how to eat it, tell me what to cook. You control everything in the household. You make all decisions, etc. And that's not what being submissive means. And so, submitting one to another and not just one more than the other person, to me, is what submissiveness means. And I think that needs to be a two-way street, not one way. As far as what I would like for gentlemen to know about me, the one thing that I want in a relationship is the most expensive thing that is in existence. It is priceless. Once you spend it, you can't get it back. You can't invest to make more. But it's just priceless, yet it costs nothing, and that's time. And so everything that we've discussed here today all wraps up into time and wanting to find that significant other that wants to be a part of your life and is okay with investing the time that it takes to learn who I am, to learn what I like, to allow me to know him, and to learn those things that make him happy, and to learn how we can be together as a team and how we can grow together as a team, and not just be one way. So that's what I'd like for a gentleman to know about me as I still forge through my life. And that is, time is the absolute most precious thing that you can share with me, and it's free.
Wow.
Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Start off with that. That's good, sister. Very detailed.
Oh, we're gonna, Brother Thomas, we're gonna jump right and let you tackle that submissiveness. I know you and DC and a couple of the other brothers already had mentioned it, but do you think men prefer women that are submissive, or does society make women feel today that they need to lead? And if you could just give us one thought on reference to what you think women should know about what men need in relationships.
Yeah, I touched on that submissive just a little bit. Again, we go back into being who I am. I'm always trying to lay things in from the biblical perspective. And as some have said, and I think DC alluded to earlier, is that we just cannot reach into the Bible and pull out one scripture and think that particular scripture speaks, is the definition of what we believe submissiveness is. That we have to look at the entire context of that particular chapter in order to discover what submissiveness truly is. And it is like what I think someone just said, Kimberly just said, it's not about telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, what to wear, how many shades of eyeshadow to wear, of things like that. It has nothing to do with that. Submissiveness has to do with the order and the perspective of what God has laid for the household. God is a God of order, and there has to be order. And it begins with God, then the husband, and then the wife. That don't mean that you are, just because you come in that level, does not mean that you are beneath the man, but it does mean that it is part of the order, the construct in which God has designed for the institution of family. But here again, when the man is out of order, the family is out of order. When the man is out of order, he's not in loving God the way God desires him to love him. He cannot properly love that woman right. And in those terms, that man then forfeits the position of leadership. He forfeits the position of leadership. And that's why more women are finding themselves cast into the role of leadership, because the men are so far out of order. They are not in proper order which God has designed for them. So submissiveness is a requirement for when we want to function according to God's design for the family. It has to be in that order. God, the husband, and then the wife. And again, when you look at that, I'm using in that order, that does not mean that the woman is beneath the man. The woman should actually be walking beside the man, not behind the man, but beside him, And when we are on the same plane, you're serving God, I'm serving God, we don't necessarily care about that particular order because we allow those things, we function in the order of God anyway. So we don't look at one usurping the authority over the other one. This person is in charge of that. We function in a place whereby we both understand that the order of God is God, man, then woman. And what that means is that at the end of the day, that does not decrease or minimize the female's perspective. It does not decrease or minimize her opinion. It does not decrease or minimize the intellect that she has in a relationship. What it means that at the end of if we come to a place where there needs to be, we're not agreeing. It's at that time that you trust God to the point whereby now you trust that man to make that ultimate decision. That's what that submissiveness means, is that at the end of the day, now I know that my man is a man of God, and I trust the decision that he's going to make for this household aligns with what God, whether you believe it or not as the female, you got to trust that this man is functioning in the realms of where God desires him to function at. That's what the submissiveness means at that point in time.
All right, good job, brother. So I'm going to shift over to Sister Keandra at this point. What you got for us, sister? Good job, Thomas.
I think the submission thing for me over the years has just been seen as taken out of context a little bit. I just, speak for me in certain relationships that I've been in, it has literally been taken out of context or expected in a certain way of what it really is meant to be, like Thomas spoke and some others biblically. I think, I don't know if I can say that men would want women to be submissive. I would say that I think a woman would not mind, or a woman would be happy to be submissive. As he follows Christ, I'll follow you as you follow Christ. When it's in the right form, when it's in the right context, I'll speak for me. I want to be submissive. I want a man who is walking in his calling. You are living what God has called you. You're being who God has called you to be. You are being that responsible leader. When I see that, I don't have a problem submitting to you because I know what submission is. It's not about, doing what you say. And I think like Kimberly said, it's not about doing what you say. It's not about, being your doormat. It's not about that. So when we both know and understand what submission is, I don't have a problem. And I don't think that, I think I'd be safe to say that I don't think that some women would not be. For me also, about a woman leading, I don't want to lead. What I want to do is I want to be able to have a voice. I want to be able to have a voice. I want to be able to help make decisions. I want to be able, to feel empowered in this relationship. That's what I want to be able to feel. And so I don't want to lead because that's not my position. My position is not to lead. My position is to help you and for us to come together. And so for me, that's what I would say about the submission part. One thing that I would say, I think the last one was Trey, one thing that we would want a man to know about.
Right. One thing, if you could, just tell us something you would want a man to know about just women. It kind of goes back to our first question about myths. What is it, one thing that you would want men to know about women?
I think for me, just what I would want them to know for me would be just honesty and transparency. That's just so huge for me. Just be real. Just be real. It'll save both of us a whole lot in the long run. Just be real. And don't let me make my own decision whether or not I think that something was too much for me or not enough for me. Don't make that decision for me. Let me be the one to make that. So, just the transparency, just, you don't have to spill everything. You don't have to tell everything. You don't have to be, this open book all the time, but just be transparent in the beginning up front so that we can save each other a whole lot in the long run.
All right, Trey, who you got? Which one of the men you got? We got three. We got some left. Let's go. We can't hear you. Trey, you on mute.
Okay, babe, calm down. I'm submitting. Mark.
You don't have to submit right now, baby. It's all good. I got you. Great.
He like, Trey. Marcus, what you got?
Well said, everybody previous.
Marcus down in the sticks.
Down there in Florida. What you got, Marcus? You having a hard time? Okay, we're gonna let Bull jump in. Bull, you kind of tell us what you think about. Do you prefer women that are submissive, or do you think women prefer to lead in relationships? And then what's one thing you wish the sisters would know?
So I'm gonna kind of answer all three questions in one. One must understand what submission really means, and like previous, the men and women already spoke on it. Submission is a song and dance between two lovers. And like I said, when we come together, we all coming together as one. So your half, my half. We come together and we make one. So without order, there's chaos. So even in all texts and all, faiths and different things like that, it was order. It was God, man, women, children. And once all of us follow up, because you got to understand, like a lot of women, I think, look at submission like, well, I ain't submitting to no man. I ain't doing this. And you're not supposed to submit to a man who's not submitting to God. So that nips that in the bud. And I think a lot of women haven't, they I think you spoke on that earlier when you said that women were raised, a lot of women were raised to be independent, and they're out there doing different things like that. So it's kind of hard for them to really submit and understand what it means to even be with a man and not even allowing, but helping and coming back into that natural state, being that help me to that man. But the man must first submit to the creator. And that nips that in the bud. It's a song and dance between two lovers. And I must submit to God. With then me submitting to God, if I'm submitting to God, then I'm submitting to my wife. Naturally. If she's submitting to me, then she's submitting to God, because I'm submitting to God. It's that order. And yeah, that answers that.
Good job. Good job.
Can I just inject just a moment and just for something that Scott just said, and we need to, somewhere along the way, we got to destroy that mindset of you bring your half, I bring my half. We're never half. We got to come to the relationship as wholes. You bring your whole, and I bring my whole, and we just become bigger and better at what we are. But the mindset of the halves is we got to kill it. I know it's just a cliche, and people say your 50, my 50, your half, my half. But what happens in a lot of relationships is if only halves do show up, that person doesn't come in wholeness. It's just a half a person here and a half a person there. And then the other representative is somewhere else. We got to destroy that mentality and say that whole, you got to bring the whole person to the relationship. Everything, not half.
See.
All right. So we're gonna go with Sister Star right now. Star, talk to the brothers.
Okay, so I kind of talked about this a little earlier. Do women want to be submissive, or does a man want a woman to be submissive? Yes. Do a woman want to be the lead? From my opinion, no, right? We kind of talked about wanting that safety and security. But I want to hit on a point that I haven't heard yet. I think when we're talking about defining submissiveness, I think it's defined worldly and I think it's defined godly, right? I think those two definitions sometimes are in opposition, right? I think when we think about like the negative of submission, we're talking about, control and, doing what I say and, I have this authority over you. You don't really have a place or a voice. But that's not godly, So why would I submit to a man who wants to control me? But I think when I think godly, right, like you said, it's order to it. If I have a man who is submitting to God, then it's very easy for me to relinquish, let my guard down, feel like I can trust to follow, right? But another point I kind of want to make about the submission and leadership is oftentimes, people get caught up in roles. And I think when you're in partnership, sometimes it's not hard lines on these roles, right? If we're in partnership and say you have two working people, right? If you beat me home, right? And it's been a long day. This goes back to, I think it was Kimberly that was talking about when her dad made the dinner, and had the bath drawn for his wife. It's not defined roles where a woman needs to do this, X, Y, and Z, or a man needs to do this, X, Y, and Z. I think when you're in partnership, you learn to submit to one another. I think somebody hit on that a little earlier is, I submit to my wife and my wife submits to me, right? So I think I just kind of wanted to hit on, like, sometimes we get caught up in these roles, and I do respect, like, the tradition, right? So I do honor that. But I think when it becomes like a expectation and then someone is reprimanded when they don't meet this expectation, like, you were supposed to have dinner ready, no, but I want to have dinner ready, so that was that one thing. And then the thing that I want to hit on about what I want men to know. Well, I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
It was just basically, if you had overall to tell men something, what would you want them to know just about women in relationships?
I think women want to feel secure, whether it be in some of their own insecurities, whether it be physical security, protected, I think women want to feel, be respected and feel valued in a relationship. So yeah, I'll go with that.
Good job. Good job, sister. Trey, who you got next for us? Which one of the brothers you got next?
Okay, let's see. All right, Brother DC, you've been salivating for the submissiveness of what you got for us?
I had to take a cup of ice on that one.
With the red.
So what I'm going to do, because I think we got to get a level of understanding. I think we went back and forth. I think the sister said clearly worldly submission and godly submission, and I think that's a valid point there. So I'm going to spend my first minute speaking from the Bible with no interpretation so we can kind of get the understanding precept upon precept. And this has been said, which is why I wrote it down. Sister Kimberly stated that it was the man that was coming for the woman, not the woman leaving. So that goes in Genesis 7:10. And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him and help make for him. So that's one. When it comes to directly, and again, the reason I want to put some reference to it as it pertains to this real strong and heavy question. Genesis again, 2:18, the Lord said, it is not good that a man should be alone. I will make him a help meet. So when it comes to, again, what Kim said, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. And that's Mark 10:7.
Mm.
So now we go back to Ephesians, which is the crux of the question. Submitting ourselves, yourselves, one to another in the fear of God is the key. That's number one. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. For husbands is the head of the wife, it's clear, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. And so if you don't have the order, going back to one of the other questions, if there's no order in your house, you can't maintain. And to that question about, let me just read it real quick. Why are relationships hard to maintain in today's society? Because there's no order.
Mm.
Husbands, and this is what balanced that submission thing. As Thomas was saying, you can't go one verse. You got to read the whole verse, and it actually would take another 4 hours to really break this down. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So that's the ultimate commitment. If I'm giving myself to my wife and my family, then I was submissive in that way.
Mm.
And so, in just my little capstone, and it's based off of what a lot of other people said earlier. My sister Star Williams so beautifully eloquated. When a man is in his proper role, displaying leadership, she can only trust and have faith in him. And I want to end with this. Something my wife always says to me, she prays for me in my role as a leadership, as she understands how difficult it is. And when I'm in the spirit, it makes it easy for her to definitely follow me. And then I think at the end of the day, because she has submitted to God, and if she's following the order, it's very easy for her to submit to me. And so I'll end right there.
Mm. Good job, my brother. That's why you was my best man, dog. My man. Always holding it down. Chi-town. All right. We're going to go with my sister from down the block. Delana, holla at us. Come on.
Hey, so I am going to focus on the two words that have been prevalent throughout this conversation, right? Submission and leadership, or to be led, right? So, just listening to the conversation, I think I'm wired a little differently, right? I appreciate that early on in the conversation, speaking about submissiveness, we were talking about what submissiveness is not, right? But it wasn't until later on in this meeting that we talked about what submission looked like, right? And for me, I need real world examples of what submission is supposed to look like, right? So I appreciate Thomas, I think, Star, Kimberly, and I think Scott, who kind of gave examples of what submission should look like. For me, I have trouble, those words, submission and to be led or leadership, they're triggers for me. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's the way that I'm wired. Okay. So, but in terms of my current relationship, I've been blessed because me and my husband, we are equally yoked. We are like-minded in our approaches to things. So there's very few instances where we are diametrically opposed to the way our family should go and in what direction, we should move as a couple. However, I have such trust and such faith in him that God has put this man in my life, so that even if there is a small break in how we see things, I can really understand and get on board with the way that he's going, because either way would work, right? So what's important to me is that I think Star touched on it as well as Kendra, that my position and my opinion is respected. I am bringing a lot to the table, just like this man is bringing a lot to the table, right? And to have my position and my opinion respected means the world to me. That to me is the true sign of a leader, and that's somebody I can get behind, right? But you know, and just going to put it out there, I've been married. This is my third marriage. This is my third marriage. I've been married 3 times. I came out of the womb ambitious and a leader, out of the womb. So it takes a special kind of man to be able to marry with me to kind of understand who I am as a person, right? And so the idea of, or the definition of submissiveness that I carried in my spirit was all those things that you all said it was not, which is why it's always been a trigger for me. And so, and then moving on to the word to lead and leadership, I think it, you know, the man really has to show up as a leader. He has to have the background that says, look, this is my position. I am proven. Let's follow me, right? You just can't come out of the, you know, out of the woodwork with like, I want you to do this and I want to lead you this way and we're moving in this direction. And I'm not really concerned about how you feel about it. Because then the lane is out of the picture. So leadership is paying attention, appreciating other perspectives, appreciating the opinion, the experience, and the offering that your partner has in any situation, and then making a decision based on that. And I can get behind that. But again, I say for myself, I've been fortunate in my third time at the wheel to have met someone and be in a relationship with someone where we are like-minded. And that has been my saving grace, because before, when we weren't like-minded and we are diametrically opposed, I was like, okay, I'm doing it this way because I know this makes sense. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not comfortable with that, so I'm going this way. Maybe it wasn't God-led, you know, maybe it wasn't spiritually rooted the first 2 times, but I know this time it is. And the fact that he has brought somebody in my life where we think alike and we are on one accord, I'm very, very grateful for that. So I thank you all at the end of the conversation for kind of defining what submissiveness should look like. We didn't get on to what leadership should look like and what that means, but I do appreciate the definition of submissiveness, because again, those two, submissiveness and being led by somebody else, are major triggers for me.
I want to say something real quick before we jump. Having known Delana and her husband, you're lucky to have, or you're blessed, I would say, to have an amazing husband. Like, her husband is amazing. Like, we talk about him all the time. And you know, God always put the right person in someone's life. So your submissiveness has changed because God has allowed that right man to be in your life. But guys, her husband is amazing. Good brother, for real.
Amen to that. All right, guys. I know time is well spent. We're gonna let Marcus give his input, and then Brink, and then Babe, you can close it out. So Marcus.
I'm going to relinquish mine to Thomas or DC. Both brothers spoke real good on the subject. So go ahead. Y'all brothers take it from there, please.
Very benevolent of you. And maybe me and Thomas can split the time. How about that?
No, go ahead, DC. You was raising your hand. Now go for it.
Oh, I was. It really was about something else. As part of the question that I did leave out, one thing that I think men or women should understand about men is that sometimes, even though I love intimacy, I might need a couple of hours of my space. You know what I mean? I'm just chilling. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm not mad. I just might need to get in the car and drive. I might need to get on the phone with my dude, Rome Latimer, chop it up. I might just need to just take a nap or do whatever I want to do. And so that's always a good thing. And just for us, our time, because we're going to spend the bulk of it with you. I don't want you to feel as though something is in fact wrong. I think one, I really appreciate, I gave Rome his flowers a couple calls ago. I'm going to give them to him again. I'm going to get off the subject about, I think we belabored it already in regards to submissiveness. But what I want to acknowledge, you bring together these platforms. Again, as I told you, there's a difference between vocation and occupation. Your occupation is what you do to make a living. Your vocation is what you do for a calling. And I said there's only 20% of the graduates who actually perform their duties within their career field or their degree. This is your vocation in broadcasting. You didn't have a chance to do it as an occupation, and the reason is because it's your vocation. And with that being said, to the assembly here of all the friends, I'm so impressed with the transparency, the ability to come on a platform not knowing anyone in here and trusting God that you won't be judged, that you can express what you deeply feel and not hold back. And I prayed for that. I prayed for the fact that the individuals on this call come together and be able to speak freely and honest about ourselves. Let our words be carried. Let your hedges of protection surround us and comfort us so that we can be in a position where we can be transparent. So I want to thank each and every one. I mean, again, my note, these ain't for me. These are not things that I was coming up with. These are all the gems again that was dropped. I feel like I was in a college level class that I took so many copious notes. So that'll be my 2 minutes right there. Thanks, Thomas. And again, thanks, Marcus.
All right, we're gonna go with I think Brink is the only one that hasn't spoken. So Brother Brink, enlighten us with your presence and your wisdom, my brother.
So again, let me just thank you all for allowing me to be a part of this. This has been amazing. I don't open myself up to a lot of people, not because I'm not open. It's because a lot of people aren't being real. They don't want to get down to what needs to be discussed or reflected on. So allowing me to be a part of this was healthy for me. But let me just hit it real quick so I can, I don't want to belabor the time. In a relationship, the math is different. In our world, 1 + 1 = 2, but in a relationship, 1 + 1 = 1. And so we have to continue to seek that the oneness that comes from, as someone said so eloquently, two whole people coming together. It is not 50-50. It's whatever's needed. So 1 + 1 = 1. And then 2, to the point of submission. If you sit down, for those of you taking notes, write the word sub, S-U-B, and then put a line over the word sub. And so sub with a line over it. And then on top of the line, write the word mission. That's what submission is. You actually subjugate yourself to a larger call. So you subordinate yourself to the mission. So when two people, 1 + 1 = 1, for a greater goal, which is your ministry, which is what you do as a collective body to represent the best that God would have for you to do, man or woman, then now you both have a unifying cause. So you're submitted to something greater. So I would just say, to me, submission is not really hard. We didn't get into leadership today, but I always say, if you call yourself a leader, nobody's following, you simply going for a walk. So we just, in my opinion, we just have to be real. We have been taught wrong. We've used these terms, like my sister said, to trigger us. So not that wasn't in us to do appropriately. It's just that we've been beaten up by what should have healed us. So again, I'm going to be quiet, and I'm just going to say this. The best thing that we can do is love. L, let's listen to each other. O, let's observe. Let's watch each other so we can know how people respond, what their aspirations are. V, we got to give them value. We got to let them know that they matter because they showed up in our lives. And E, we empower the other person to go love. And we love like we never been hurt. And I think if we do that, we will submit unto God. And I will just say this as a man. I make a lot of decisions. Like I said, I got my own company. I got properties. I got a bunch of stuff that I manage. I don't want to make decisions all the time. So if I can have somebody by my side that I can reflect with, and if sometimes we have to say, what's the best decision? Sometimes you may have the best decision. So again, I think sometimes because we've been triggered, we have to feel like we got to play defense, but love is not about playing defense. It's about becoming vulnerable. And that's the essence of growth. And I feel like I've grown tonight. I appreciate you all. God bless you all.
Man, that sounds like a message when the pastor talk at the end and you walk out and you be like, man, that sermon was good.
You're awesome, Anthony.
No, we're awesome. We're awesome.
All of that.
We should, at some point, we should do a thing on triggers though, because that's real. And I want to thank you for being honest and transparent, because I had triggers when I was a child. I wrote about it in my book when I was going through chemotherapy at 5 years old and almost died. So I used to sabotage relationships because I had abandonment issues. And so triggers are good. And I don't want to turn this into a class, but I would just say that the biggest thing I will say to you, my sisters, I say to the rest of us, is the enemy will try to take what hurt us so the best of us won't come out. And if you love that man like I know you, like I know you do, then he deserves the best in you. And so we love, like, even if it sounds like what somebody did before, we said, nah, that ain't him. That sound like it. So again, thank y'all again. I'm gonna shut it down.
Anthony, you saying something. You really saying something.
Hey, so for me, guys, I just want to say I feel like I got some new sisters. Definitely had the brothers already, but this is what me and Trey wanted to do. We wanted to get great minds, great souls, and experiences, because our experiences is different from other people's experience. And the more you can learn from others and just see things in a different way, it's almost like something DC said. We may all read the Bible, and God has it for us one way, but we may interpret or see it totally different. That don't mean that the word changed. It's just our knowledge and our understanding of what it's actually saying when it comes to us, or our level of understanding. So I just want to thank everybody for getting on the phone. Getting on the call tonight. I really appreciate it. I want to say thanks to my amazing wife, who always comes up with so many different ideas and stuff like that. So I'm going to let her close it out, because in our household, it's not 50-50, it's 100-100, and we do everything together. So, babe, I submit to you right now, and you close us out.
All right, so it's been a blessing to share this time with all of you. You all have provided us so much food for thought, and I hope that you have grown just a little bit just by hearing other people and their thoughts and their experiences. You know, we don't all have it all together, but man, collectively as a people, when we come together and be vulnerable and transparent, we can definitely grow so much as a family and as friends. So thank you guys so much for spending a part of your day with us. We truly appreciate it, and we love you guys for it. So let's go and get some wings now and check out the basketball game. Go Gonzaga, go Baylor. So thank you guys so much for being a part of the Chop Shop, and hopefully we'll get together and chop it up again real soon. God bless you.
Hey, Kim.
We love y'all.
All right. Thanks, bro. Thanks, sis.
Hey,
Everybody.
Nice to meet
Guys,
everybody.
Girl.
Nice to meet
girl.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catch you on
Goodbye.
another chop
Thank you so
real
much.
soon.
All right.
Hey.
This was beautiful.